All right, we are here for the second edition of Inside the Mind of the Salesperson, and I'm sitting with Christine Bruns Lockwood, a barrister's title, in front of the live studio audience. So Christine, are you ready?
As ready as I'm ever gonna be.
All right, well, let's start at the beginning then. Where were you born?
Deerfield Beach, Florida.
And where did you grow up?
Deerfield Beach, Florida.
Deerfield Beach, Florida. And what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was in construction. Yep. He put all the pipes in for big commercial projects. Yep.
And how about your mom?
Boy, my mom was a homemaker for many years, but she got into real estate when I was in middle school, so she became a real estate agent, and she's still a real estate agent today.
So you have some sales in your blood?
I do, and actually my dad transitioned from construction to yacht brokerage when I was about 18, so they're both sales.
So after high school, what did you do?
I went to college. I went to the University of Central Florida in Orlando.
And after college, what was the first job you had?
Yeah, so right after I graduated with a degree in interpersonal communications. My parents weren't really happy about that, but I told my mom, I was like, I want to be a real estate agent. I want to get into real estate. And she said, you are not going to be a real estate agent. She said, you're going to get a job that has a steady paycheck, gives you some benefits. She knew how hard it was to work on commission, straight commission. So instead of taking the realtor route, I went and found a job at a law office that did real estate closings. So kind of approached it from a different angle.
Right.
And I was an assistant to a paralegal. I was, opening files and doing just the very easy parts of the file. But then
paralegal in training.
I was a paralegal in training, and I eventually got to work on my own files there. So that was a great first job.
And how long did you do that?
I was probably there for like a year plus, and then in the state of Florida, the title industry works just slightly different. You can you don't actually have to be an attorney to sit closings. Attorneys can be the title insurer and the closing agent. So there's actually agencies that sit closings there. So I went to go work for an agency, managed a tiny little office that was the preferred closing agent for a Coldwell Banker franchise there in Orlando. So I got my license, and I was 23 and sitting closings, and really had to work to earn my credibility with the customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how did you transition into title insurance and selling?
So I met my first husband, and he's in NASCAR, the business side of NASCAR, and so we went from Orlando to Charlotte because this is such a big NASCAR area, and I didn't have a job, but he did. And so when I got here, I quite literally Google searched, and although I don't think it's Google, I think it might have been like Yahoo. Yahoo searched.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, I know. Like real estate closing firms, right? And so I got a few closing attorneys, and then agencies, title insurers popped up, right? And I literally went down the list and called people and asked them if they were hiring, and it ended up where I had an offer for a paralegal position and one offer to do marketing for a local agency. And I thought I would take the opportunity to try something new and different. And so that's how I ended up here.
So the paralegal job would have been similar to what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
The title insurance job, totally different.
Totally different.
And your mom said she didn't want you working on commissions, and you took a job that involves commissions.
I will say, well, there was a little bit of stability, so there was some salary, but yes, it was a nice baby step into that for sure. Yeah.
So what were your first few calls like?
Yeah. I think that they're horrible. They're just terrible. In general, I think the first time you do that kind of cold calling, walking into some place, it's trial by, or what is that, you're just trying something out and you're doing it in real time, so not great. I didn't have the best training, it's not even the best training, I didn't have training, right? So it was really just trial by error, I suppose. So not great. But you learn along the way, and you hope you don't do so terrible that you burned, an opportunity, or, so.
How long did it take for you to start feeling comfortable?
I mean, I would say it probably took at least a year, if not more. I mean, it's, to be honest, it you know, to find your footing and to and I think it's never done. Honestly, I still think there's room for improvement and you know, constantly, you know, self-improvement. So, but I think it probably took the better part of a year. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about your training, but it sounds like it was non-existent.
Yeah, not a lot of training. I mean, not none, but just not a ton either. Yeah, training in terms of like, these are who you want to, these are the folks we want you to call on. This is what we'd like for you to bring in, you know, now go, you know. And this is the services we offer. Here's our contact, you know, this is what you need to tell folks, but other than that, yeah, not a lot.
In those early days, was there a bit of advice that you received that you still remember or that you still call upon?
You know, there were a few other sales folks at this company, and I would obviously at the beginning join them on their sales calls. I would actually try to take note of like the things that they were doing that clearly weren't working. You know, and we all have things that, you know, so it's not like I'm now perfect. I'm not, or I was perfect at the time. But I saw a few things. Like I think that one of the first things I remember was not being self-aware about the amount of time you spend in an office. You know, I watched a coworker talk for a very long time and spend a lot of time in an office, and it was obvious from nonverbal, verbal, just all these cues that his time was over there, you know, and it was time to see yourself out. So that was like one of the first things I was always like, I never want anybody to, you know, I never want to overstay my welcome, you know, so.
So it's interesting, you can learn how to do things a certain way. You can also learn how maybe not to do something, or maybe something this is work for you.
Yeah, totally.
Could you describe your ideal customer?
My ideal customer would be an honest customer. You know, somebody that wasn't afraid to hurt my feelings and tell me the truth about the situation. Because I think I can deal with the truth and with facts and work from there, you know, to either reassess them as far as the potential they have as a customer, or where to focus my efforts, you know, when talking to them and approaching them. So an honest customer.
Okay, yeah. You're familiar with Rory Vaden's book, Take the Stairs?
Yes. I mean, I read it many years ago, yes, and I've got a great refresher, yes.
In what ways do your efforts at the field embody taking the stairs?
You know, I think consistency, you know, I mean, because you're gonna go in and have a bad call with a customer that you feel like is a good customer, that you have a good, you know, relationship with. It's gonna happen, you know, like either they're too busy or they're having a bad day, and you're like, oh, I said something or I did something, but you know, not letting that affect the next time you've got to walk into that office, you know. So I would say consistency, and believe it, I get it, I fail at that sometimes, I do, but in this industry, it's the long game, right? I mean, these are not people that we get an order from one day and we never see again. Like, we are going to see this person again and again, if not in this office, in the next office they go to. So,
can you give us an example of maybe when you didn't take the stairs?
ooh, you know, I think there are certain people that are harder for me to deal with than others, and like, so I probably have a handful of those customers right now, and those people are hard to get the motivation up to go see them. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm just not up for it today, you know, I just don't have the energy to do this kind of call with this person. So that's probably,
Yeah.
I mean.
How about the opposite? Can you give us an example where you did take the stairs?
I think back to one situation, it was some years ago, many years ago, but I had a customer that was really behind on their finals, and they needed help. And not every one of those finals were going to me, but a lot of them were, right? And so if I went in and helped them out, like process them a bit, I think that was probably one of the examples of. Also, especially now, I have a good handful of paralegals have been let go because the market's down, and they'll reach out and ask me, hey, or tell me like, I'm looking, keep me in mind, like if anybody's looking, and so I think that's kind of taking like, you know, a step above and beyond, although it can pay dividends, you know, like it is still like, it's not going to, in the moment, it's sort of that, you know, long game.
Yeah, long-term gratification
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
immediate.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of a time you felt empathy for a customer and how you express that empathy?
It's interesting as life goes on and the different life experiences you have, you begin to be able to empathize with people more. I have a few, I think of 2 customers that I've been through divorce, and I have 2 customers in my mind that I know I have a special rapport with because they too have been through divorce and like post-divorce dating, and I think those are definitely situations in which I can empathize with somebody, you know, especially those 2 situations. So we have kind of like a special bond.
A connection.
A connection, yeah.
Because you are able to empathize with them.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We've also over the years read a book called Navigate by Dustin Hills. What is the concept behind Navigate?
I think it's like knowing your buying and selling style and knowing someone else's buying style, basically. I mean, yeah, and being able to identify that.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
No.
Do you navigate when you're out in the field?
You know, it's interesting. I think that there are some things that make you a good salesperson that are inherent to you and to your personality. I feel like I don't necessarily go into an office like there's a detective or there's a counselor. I just honestly, I mean, I hate to sound like but I feel like I intuitively know how people, what their buying style is. So.
Yeah, and I would
I'm
say
pretty
that
amazing like
sometimes intuition is created through experiences
Yeah.
and just gaining knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes you to have intuition. And your training and your experience are creating that intuition for you.
I mean, I can definitely it's good to know the different buying and selling styles, and there are times where I'm like, that person is definitely a this, you know,
So you still do that? You
Yeah.
still play that in your game?
Yes.
That person is still a entertainer,
Yeah.
a detective, whatever.
Yes, sorry, I was gonna say what I am.
Yeah, you can.
But I'm a fighter,
Yeah.
and I'm also a bit of a detective too. So so entertainers and counselors are a little harder for me. And it's not that entertainers, like, I'm just like, let's get to the nitty gritty. You know, like I want to say what I have to offer. What do you need? Let's see if they match up. I think this would be great. You know, as a personal development though, I have tried to be more empathetic to entertainers, like you know, to I think I was telling something recently, coming from South Florida and moving to North Carolina, there's a bit of a cultural difference. I mean, in Florida, at least then, and that my experience was like, it was like, wham bam, thank you ma'am, what do I need, can I get it to you, when can I get it to you, let's get this done, you know. And when I came to North Carolina, started selling here, people want to talk they want to know about your kids, and they want to talk about, you know, what you did, and like they're just so much more relational, and I think I like naturally fit a little bit better in that culture where I was from in Florida, but I've come to appreciate and like value entertainers, people, and that relational aspect, because it's so important.
Right.
So yeah.
What things do you typically use as your value propositions out in the field?
I talk a lot about quality. I think that we offer quality, you know, and efficiency. You know, we have knowledgeable underwriters on staff that are easily accessible. We have quick turnaround times. We have staff that are available and attentive. You know, our prior policy lookups, we have a whole team of folks that all they're doing is looking at prior policies all day. Yeah, equality. I mean, because I just think that that's value, you know? And recently, because we've acquired all this extra value through Fidelity, you know, our access to CLEs on demand, you know, and even CLEs in person, just lots of continuing education. So I really try to focus on quality.
Maybe the same answer. You have all these tools in your tool bag, and I know this from my experience with you. You have a good assessment of an inventory of what those tools are. Is there one that you think is most effective for you?
I mean, I really value our underwriting attorneys' knowledge and accessibility. And I think that's really important to my customers, especially attorneys. And I think it's different for paralegals and attorneys, and in different offices for paralegals, even for, they're all kind of different, but the paralegal's responsiveness, you know, and just knowing that somebody's going to be there to either respond to their email and say they're going to get to it, or make the revision, get the commitment, find the prior. So,
right.
Yeah.
How important is scheduling to your process?
Man, I hate it, but it's so, I mean, I don't hate it. I hate that it's so important, but it's so important. Because without it, I mean, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, you know? So it is super important. And it's an evolving process. Like, I am still revamping the process every year. I try to look at what I'm doing, how can I do it better? And things in your life change, like I had a baby a year ago. You know, where my life was a little easier to compartmentalize, it's a little less easier. So I have to be really, really careful about blocking out, you know, my time and making sure I'm using it wisely. But it's so important.
Do you have a favorite question that you like to ask customers?
Do I have a favorite question I like to ask? I mean, I like to ask them, like, how has the interaction with the office been lately? Like, what's been going on? Like, everything good?
Soliciting feedback.
Yeah.
How about for prospects? Maybe somebody that you're new. Do you have a favorite question you like to ask?
I mean, I think that asking, like, the class, asking somebody who they like to work with is like, whoa, like, they're like, wait a minute, am I allowed to tell you this? Like, what? You know? So I do like, because it shows that, like, I'm comfortable. I know you work with other people. I know I'm not going to be the only title insurance company you work with. And now they know that I know that. I'm not in for, like, I want all of your business and I'm not going to leave unless you tell me you're going to send it to me, you know? So I think it's a really disarming question, and letting them know, like, I know you work with other people, and so let's start there. Like, what do you like working with? You know, what do you like about working with those folks? So.
Do you have any anchors with any customers?
Oh, I mean, I think life gives you so many anchors. I mean, there's so many opportunities for different things to anchor with people about. I mean, the easiest ones are your family. I have kids, I have a husband, you know, I have a dog. I mean, there's so many things that I can have anchors with people about. I mean, sadly, yeah, divorce or illness and I mean, it's just so many things, you know. Life, I think the more life experience you have, the more anchors you can have, you know. Yeah.
How much time do you spend on self-reflection? And I mean that in a business setting. Like, do you take time to evaluate the things you said or didn't say during the course of the day?
Yeah, I definitely think it's more along the lines of what I didn't say or should have said, or how I should have said something. Yes. And I don't quite have it figured out how, like, I can bookmark those and like return to those and try to, like, think about those. I am revamping my the way I memorialize my visits this year, and so maybe that the way I think I'm planning on doing it, I think that will allow me to do that more.
Actually write down.
I should have said this. I should have asked this next time exactly.
Can you describe one way in which you as a salesperson bring value to a customer?
I really think I'm reasonable, you know, I really think like, I'm realistic. I don't think I'm gonna be anybody's only title insurance, resource, you know, and I really try to read them, like what do they need, what are they looking for, to be, aware, self-aware and aware of like what it is that they're looking for, and I try to tailor, you know, my conversation, what I bring up. I try not to waste people's time. Everybody's time is super valuable, so yeah, I think that's all. Sometimes that's to my detriment. I mean, that's my natural inclination, right? Is to like get to the point, and sometimes I have to slow myself, consciously slow myself down, and say like, no, this person wants more time to like chitty chat and talk. My husband's gonna love that I said chitty chat on the video. That's not a word. But I do have to work on. That is what I have to try harder to do. Yeah.
And that sort of dovetails into my next question: is are you doing anything to make yourself likable out in the field or with customers or strangers?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty good at like adapting my approach to the way they like to. I sell the way like they like to buy, and so I think I do a good job of that. I mean, yeah, relatable.
Yeah.
I try to treat people in offices how I treat people outside, like normal everyday, you know.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. So.
Is it important for you to have somebody that helps you be accountable?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's important to have monthly meetings and goals and weekly schedules to be sent to. I do. I think those things are, because I mean, we can have the best of intentions, you know, and not plan to not do these things, but life gets crazy, and so I think it's good to have. Yes, I do.
Can you describe for us how you go about goals, or perhaps a process you have that involves goals and how it helps you?
Yeah, we use a monthly tracking sheet. We call it a monthly tracking sheet, and it's a list of all of my active customers and my goals for the month, which can be an order count, a customer count, a revenue number, and it has some other, like last month's numbers, last month's goals, this month's goals, and then through the month I will tally and record maybe at the end of every week or halfway through the month, and then maybe the third week of the month I'll write down where I am with those customers, and that helps me know where I stand as far as my goals are concerned, as far as overall goals, and then individual goals. The individual goal is great because can be a customer that I may be supposed to call on next week, but I've hit my goal, and I may not make that call, or that call may be a fun, light drop call, goodies, or I may just email them and say thank you. So it gives me the freedom there, and then it tells me where I need to kind of focus my energy and maybe turn up the heat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ask some questions.
And so if you're at the end of the month and you're one short on a target that was set for you, does that motivate you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll send an email and say, I'm one short of my goal with your office. If you guys have anything left before the end of business, I would absolutely love to get an order and it'll help me hit my goal. Now that's an ask I can't do every month. That loses its, you know, its
potency.
Yeah, it does. So I can't do that every month, but I could do that, you know, knowing that, having that information, I can do that with a customer, you know.
Who sets your targets for you?
My manager.
Your manager.
Yeah.
And does she also help you with the accountability?
Yes, Natasha, yes, yep, Natasha does all that.
In what ways do you acknowledge inside staff's contributions?
I think I could be better, but I also wish I knew more about the inside staff and their interaction with customers, but I know they're super busy, and so I understand that's difficult sometimes. But when I'm involved in something with an underwriter and a customer, and they do an amazing job, I make sure, especially because we're not in office together, a lot of us are working remotely, I am too, I make sure to email them. I'd love to say it in person, but like, hey, thanks for helping out, that was amazing, you know, so.
Do you engage in prospecting? And by that I mean some process by which you're trying to find out who the new players are, if there are new players. Do you have any way of doing that?
Yeah, funny, like there's a couple of different ways, but it has a lot to do with like, if there's a new customer has asked for a prior policy that I don't recognize that name, I'll do some research. A lot of my independent abstractors, I'll reach out to them every now and then, or I send them goodies and I'll say something along the lines like, hey, who are you working with right now? Anybody new, that has come, new to you, and they'll let me know, and that's helpful. A lot of times when a paralegal will leave and go to a new office, and I check them up on LinkedIn, and they're at this new place, and so I'm like, so that's helpful too. So those are all different ways.
So you're out in the field, you're grabbing data points, like birthdays and names and information. How do you keep track of that?
Well, we use a CRM called Salesforce, and that is basically for firm name, address, staff names, their birthdays, and then because so many of our customers are working remotely, if they are okay with it, I'll ask for their mailing address at home, because I don't go to their homes, but I'll send them things in the mail, and then also email addresses. So it's that's where I keep most of that stuff. Now I've gotten to the point where I used to be a lot better at remembering things and not having to write not every little thing down, but the main highlights of a visit. This year I am implementing a system where I'm going to be able to write down things immediately after leaving an office, so that I have I can have a better recollection the next time I go in there about what we talked about, because that's needed. Need some help.
What are, other than the ones you just named, because you just named data like addresses, birthdays, names, other than that, what are the key data points you're trying to get when you go into an office?
Well, yeah, I want to get an idea of like their volume. I want to see what kind of volume they're doing. I want to know what kind of business resources they have. Currently our customers that were all like iBuyers or they're not doing so great. The folks that had builder work, which honestly we don't get a lot of it's hard for us to capture the builder work, especially the big builders. They're still doing okay. So those firms that like have a mix of real estate referrals and builder, like they're looking healthy, and that's good to know. Especially for the paralegals that are being let go of, maybe some of the other firms and are looking for jobs. I'm sending them over to these folks that are still have a real healthy source of business. So that's important right now. How much they're doing. Like what's important to them as far as title insurance goes, but that's pretty, for the most part, everybody has the same, especially paralegals, they have
same sort of things you're looking for.
Yeah.
Your office keeps track of prior policies. How do you go about using that data, and how often do you review it?
Yeah, I would say I review it about once a month, mid-month, and I really don't like, there is one underwriter in our area, or in the state of North Carolina for that matter, that like at least in my area, those reps really have gone in and used that information and said like, we sent you 5 and you only sent 3, where are the other 2? We're gonna take you off our, prior policies list. I don't wanna get that.
Rough-handed.
Yeah, really rough-handed, very aggressive. I don't wanna get that reputation. I don't think that's, we have operated on the idea of getting about a 45% return rate on our prior policies sent out. And so when they're about 45%, they're not a red flag to me. But it's the ones that are not, that, hey, my conversation is, first I will go to the abstractor, if I can, and say, hey, what's your process? How do you search for prior policies? Because I cannot stand when independent abstractors or even on-staff abstractors send a request out to 20 different title insurance companies at once. It's just such a waste of time and resources.
Mass email.
So I will have that conversation with them. I will not follow up with them. I won't say, why do you do that? I will actually go to the attorney, or but most often the attorney, because this is a person that matters, and say, hey, Bob, your abstractor is sending a mass email for prior policies, and if I were, it's you gotta be so careful. If it were my business, I wouldn't want 10 of me walking into your office thinking that I sent you the prior policy that you should tap to and that I didn't get it. So I would have that conversation with the attorney, and usually that makes sense to them. They're like, oh, I will say to them, if I were you, I would tell my abstractor, I like working with these 4 companies. Why don't you hit them first? If they don't get you the prior in a timely manner, like, go ahead, send the mass email out, But like, I want to work with these guys, so let's keep our prior policy lookups to them. That way, and usually we're one of those 4 barrister style. So, I'm not afraid of being in the other group because we have such a great team that looks at prior policies. And a lot of people that makes sense to, and they're like, oh, that makes way more sense. Like, why am I gonna, I don't want, every title insurance company coming in here thinking they have a right to the prior they sent me when 15 other people sent it too. You only send one request for a commitment. So that's I can't remember, what was the question?
Just how you go about prior policies.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting strategy, because one way to deal with these mass emails, right? It's a mass email that goes out, is you tell the staff, you just got to get it out quicker, right? Because the first one who gets it usually is the one that wins. And so your response to that is, we just got to go fast. But what you're trying to do is change the process, change the game. Just go to the source and say, look, when you're doing this, you're creating multiple people doing the same work to get you the same thing. And what I want to suggest to you is that doesn't make any friends when you do that, and that if you just limited it to 4, at least let them look first, then you're still going to get it. You're still going to get it quickly, and you're going to have better relationships, because if you send out an email to 20 people, 19 of them are going to be upset with you.
Yeah.
Right? If you send it out to 4, you may not be sending anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and that argument doesn't necessarily, and the reason why I wouldn't follow up and have that conversation with the abstractor per se, and sometimes I will, but most of the time no, because all they care about is getting the prior the quickest possible. They do not care how many title insurance company reps go and bother the attorney for that new order. They don't care. So, and then I would say to you, it might be a good idea to ask, because a lot of times they're independent abstractors, and the attorney will say, well, I don't want to tell them how to do their business. And I'm like, well, the way they do their business affects you. If it, I would tell them this
it's a reflection on your business.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Do you have any favorite closing words?
I usually say something like, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, you guys are really good about sending us business, but please keep me in mind. You got any homeless title, request it on your desk for the next couple of days? Like, barristers would be a good home for those. So, that's like a really soft and like easy, way. And I'll do that in email form too, as well. I do put that in email. And there are certain things I'll say in person that I wouldn't say over email, and vice versa. So, but yeah, that's probably my most frequent.
How often do you do marketing events, and how does it help?
We probably have like 3 to 4 events a year, and some are smaller and some are bigger. And I think they're great. They're just like bringing Natasha or Sarah out in the field with me. It's just like another opportunity to make a personal connection, spend some time not in the office, connecting and getting to know each other, and just developing that relationship on yet another level. So yeah.
Are you looking at any data trends in the market? Do you have any outside information that you look at periodically?
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of emails. I read a lot of articles about real estate in my area. I follow a lot of like high producing realtors on like Instagram, on my personal Instagram, so I can kind of see what they're saying. And I have friends that are realtors, and I ask them anecdotally, you know, what's going on, and mortgage brokers for that matter, like, hey, what are you seeing, what's going on? I do think that the realtors are like the first line of, in the process, you know.
That show the trend.
That show the trend,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it is helpful. Yeah.
And your manager does something for you too, doesn't she, as far as data goes?
Yeah, compiles, it's hard, like, but like the closing deeds, and I just look at the numbers, I don't know the names, but like the amount of deeds that have been filed with the county, and that's great to see like how much market share we're capturing over time, and if we're up or down compared to the market. That's really helpful, because we could be having a down month, but we're actually capturing more market share, and that's really a win, and that kind of paints a totally different picture, and changes morale a little bit, so that's super helpful.
Right. You said numbers could be down, but really when you look at the number of closings that occurred, it's actually a win, right? And having that perception about it can be good for morale.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions for Christine? All right, so no questions, so we're gonna do our 10 questions.
Okay.
It's gonna be rapid. First thing comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is a place that you would like to live?
Oh, I like to live in my new house that's gonna be built, finished soon.
That
in the
would
next
be a good
7
place
months.
for you to live, yes. Where is a place you would not want to live?
Oh, South Florida.
Okay. What is something that makes you happy?
My like hearing my teenagers laugh and be sweet to each other.
What is something that makes you sad?
A lot of loud background noise, probably. As I get older, that's really bothers me.
What is a sound or noise that you love?
Yeah, the kids laughing. Probably my children's laughter.
Okay, so same answer.
Yeah.
And how about a noise that you hate?
Like open mouth chewing.
Yes, agreed. What is a guilty pleasure for you?
Oh gosh, like being outside in the sun with a book, quiet. I don't know how guilty that is, but it's definitely like,
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. A coffee by myself and a sweet coffee shop where I can just like people watch for, you know, a good amount of time.
Okay. What is a profession other than your own that you would like to attempt?
Oh, that I would like to attempt. Maybe a real estate agent at some point. Yeah, that seems, not too far. It's not too far out from this realm, but yeah.
So again, just going completely against your mom's advice.
Totally. Fighter. Hello.
What profession would you not like to do?
You know, I think these folks are so important, but I would not want to be like a caregiver. That's hard work. And again, needed, but that would not be what I wanted to do, yeah.
If you could have dinner with any person, dead or alive, who would that be?
Well, probably my grandfather. And then I'm gonna say my sister had a baby that died, and I'd love to spend some time with her too. So yeah, those two folks.
Well, that has been another edition of Inside the Mind of a Salesperson, and we will see you next time.